Okay, so wrapping up our discussion of finding articles within Primo. So the last step is once you have added all your limiters and your keywords and you have results coming up that are relevant to your search, is kind of scrolling through and seeing what's there. So this is where you're looking at the information that's offered in your results list. Okay, does this look interesting? So looking at this one, effectiveness of calcium and vitamin D in osteoporosis. So when you're clicking on the title, you're getting this item record. And so this brings you the basic information of what the article is, how do you access it. So up at the top, you get the beginnings of the bibliographic info of what is the title, who is the author, what's that journal info, date, volume, issue, page numbers. Remember, if you want to save this article, that you're like, okay, this is a good article, it's helpful to me, I want to save it for later, you have this little pen icon, which then saves it to your favorites, which remember you find up here at the top of the screen or by clicking on your drop-down menu name. So that way you have all of your search results kind of saved in one place. Other important things. So if you scroll down on this page, down here in the details, you do get more information about who is the bibliographic info. Lots of times you get descriptions of it. And so this one doesn't really have an abstract. Let me go back to one that does. All right, so this one does have an official abstract, which this one's a rather in-depth abstract. The abstract is a summary of the article. Officially and peer-reviewed articles is going to give you a complete overview of what it is they researched and what were the results. However, reading the abstract does not stand in for reading the article. This tells you whether or not you want to take the time to read it. It does not constitute actually reading the article. Citing from the abstract is a huge no-no, and any good professor would call you out on citing from the abstract. If you're citing from page 1 of the article, we know you're citing from the abstract. We're not stupid. Other good things to look at. So you do get your creators, who are your authors. You also get these subject headings. And so this is a good place to possibly look for more of those keywords like we talked about a few days ago. This is what the journal and the author is using to describe what is this article about. So you could get other keywords you could use. Oftentimes you can also click on this. So instead of using calcium as a keyword, we want things that specifically have calcium as a subject heading. And so you could restart a search that way. Going back. Okay. So there is kind of your details. With this, you then, how do we actually get to the full text? And that's where you scroll up to this online access. Lots of articles have multiple databases that we get this journal through. So this one you're seeing is through 4 different options. You can, in theory, pick any of these. However, be aware, if you're getting a note under the database title, so this Nursing and Allied Health database, it's only available from 1997, and the most recent year is not available. So we don't have the full run of this entire journal from the first published issue up to the current date. We only have things from 1997, and it has what is called an embargo on the most recent year. So this is where you need to go back up to that bibliographic info and look, okay, what was the date this was published? So this was published in 2015, so that's after 1997. Also, 2015 is 5 years ago, not 1, so you would be able to get access through this. If this was published in October of 2019, that falls within the last year. The last year isn't necessarily all of 2019. It kind of updates month to month. So we're looking at April 2019, April 2020 would not be available. Once we get to May, April of 2019 would then be available. It updates as you go through. But be aware of that. So if you're ever clicking on this and it doesn't bring you the full text, you might want to go back and look and see if there was an embargo. Embargoes are determined by the publisher. We can't really control them. We can just tell you what is there. So click on one of these titles, though, and it's going to take you out of Primo and into the database where you're actually going to read this article and get the full text. Sometimes this takes a second to load. Full text of your article. So this is one that has a PDF, and you can scroll through and read the whole thing. It's kind of taking a second to load for me. You have the options to download that, to print it. You have options also to save it within ProQuest itself. So it's in this ProQuest database. Full text, full article. You have all of the info it provides. So accessing, pretty easy once you find it in Primo. Other things that are helpful. So you have All right, that's my timer, but I'm going to go like 30 seconds over. You have these send to options. Most helpful for students is this send to email option, to where you can type in an email address. This could be your email address. It could be a friend's if you're working in a group project. Could be your professors if you're saying, hey, can you look at this article? Would this be acceptable? That way it sends them the link to this item record and you can come back directly here. If you're sending this to someone, it does come from the email discovery@xlibris group. So keep that in mind if you're not to delete those things, and it will just bring you all of this item record as well as a link to get back to this page where you can access the full text. Other helpful things, you do have the permalink. So this is what I take when I'm giving you assignments, is I take this permalink that brings you directly back to here. If you ever need the permalink for any library resource that you need a link to get back to the page where you're getting to the full text, take the permalink that's offered in the item metadata that's offered in that detailed view instead of the link up here in the address bar. This link can dead end, especially if you're trying to go from on campus to off campus. It has all of these login things and search things built into it. This is the permalink going to take you directly back to this page. Finally, you have the citation function. We talked about this when we learned about citations. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. More often than not, it has mistakes in it. So make sure if you are using this, it tells you to check it for citations for accuracy before including them in your work. If you are going to take this, you need to proofread. You need to make sure all of the authors are there. Make sure they're formatted correctly. Make sure the title is formatted correctly, that it's using the correct capitalization for APA. Make sure that you're keeping things like the italics when you copy and paste this over into your Word doc, and you're getting those page numbers and volume and issue and year. I've seen Primo leave out things like the journal title and the volume and the issue and the year and the page number, and that's not good. You need to have those items not to plagiarize. So make sure, if you are choosing to use this citation function, that you do proofread. Y'all have learned to cite. If you're going to use this, technology can make your life great, but you got to be smarter than the machine and you got to proofread. All right, one more video coming up just talking about your activity for today, and then we will be done. Thanks.